Hi and welcome to this week's MyMarketology Lab. I'm Tony and I'm the head marketologist. Every week we'll be looking to bring you some new and breaking approaches to digital marketing to keep you ahead of your competition. We don't want you to miss out, so subscribe to our channel now before we get going. A quick search on Google this morning for marketing segmentation has produced over 5.25 million results. Segmentation is a popular topic and is a buzzword being used by marketing teams in every industry. To some marketers, it is a frightening concept and they don't know where and how to get started. So in this week's lab, I want to help you to put these fears to rest and give you the information that will help you to get started and also make the most of segmentation. Now, segmentation increases the relevancy of your marketing efforts to that part of your overall audience, contact data, or customer base. Your buyer or audience personas are examples of top-level segmentation. When you're using segmentation for your marketing communications, though, you need to drill down into your data in much more depth. The more relevant that you make your communications, the more likely people are to take the action that you want them to take. Your objectives will define what that action is, but some examples are newsletter sign-ups, purchases, downloads, and app installs. Segmentation isn't just about email. This is quite a common misunderstanding. Segmentation is relevant wherever you have the ability to capture and analyse data. We'll discuss the different places where you can do this shortly. Now, the first rule of segmentation is that you must have data. Not just any old data though. To comply with the DPA and also the GDPR, which comes into force in May next year, the data that you use has to be given freely through affirmative action, and you have to have the consent to use it documented as well. The strength of segmentation is always going to be in the data that you're using. Segmentation is the process of dividing your data sets or customer contacts into different customer segments. In essence, what you're doing is you're slicing and dicing the data that you hold to produce groups of contacts with similar characteristics. So you might use things like age, gender, average purchase value, email opens and clicks. In practice, you can use any data that you hold to create segments. If you're wondering where you can get the data from, consider using these sources. So the first one is always going to be your CRM, and this should be the central hub of all your data. The money is in the list after all. Now, you're likely to already have enough data to get you started in segmentation. If you are only just starting, look to create segments based on whether people are prospects, one-time customers, or retained customers with more than one purchase. This applies to services just as much as products themselves. You can then start getting a little bit more involved with the data as time goes along and start looking at maybe full purchase pipelines or where they are in a particular sales funnel at this point in time as well. Now, the next source is your email list. Your email service provider ideally will already be integrated with your CRM, but don't worry too much if it isn't. Look to create segments based on contact behaviours, so things like opens, people who aren't opening, and also people who are clicking as well. You can include website behaviour to determine email communications if you want to get more advanced, and also if your ESP has the ability to offer that as a service too. Now, next one's your social media accounts. So which channels are you using? Do they all offer reports and insights? They all do, to be honest. Think how you can use that information to tailor your marketing communications and strategies. Now, data analysis and segmentation from social media channels is an in-depth topic as there are so many different platforms out there, but consider these approaches for starters. So, when are your Facebook users active? Are the peaks of activity in your insights that deliver greater engagement than others on certain types of post? Use that information to educate the content of your next posts and deliver them at the same time to try and trigger that extra engagement. The next one would be, do most of your prospects become customers after they've opened 3 email campaigns and clicked on links in at least 2 of them, for example? If so, create segments to try and drive that behaviour going forward. And the next one is, do prospects who convert at the best rate on your website come from display ads on mobile devices at 7 p.m. on the 3rd Thursday of the month? Again, as an example. Create a segment to match just that. Create relevant content and deliver it just before that time, in this case 7 p.m, on whatever advertising platform that you're using. and also the one that gives you the greatest return on investment. I'll stop there before my imagination starts running away with me, but you get the idea. So what you need to do is analyse your data and look for groups of people showing the same traits, same behaviours or characteristics, and then target them specifically as a group or segment. You become much more relevant, you become much more targeted, and that will increase the return on investment of your work, all while reducing the amount of work that you actually need to do, because you're not communicating to everyone, you're communicating to a specific targeted few. One of the benefits of segmentation is that you're not marketing to everyone. You're picking out those smaller and targeted groups to make you and your marketing communications much more efficient. We will cover social media analysis and social media segmentation in next week's lab, so stay tuned and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss out. The next place you can find the data is user behaviour on your site. So I've just given a brief example of that, but consider how different groups of people behave on your website. Can you target those specific groups with different blog content, landing pages, banner ads, or on-page messaging that will increase your conversions? Google Analytics gives you so much information that you can't help but fall over segments. Using the Behaviour Flow report is a great way of getting started. The next source would be your advertising accounts. So the advertising platforms such as Google AdWords and Bing Ads contain great data analysis and reporting tools if you use them. So use them to identify the segments of your advertising audience that are converting best and giving you the best return on investment. Also identify the ones that aren't and amend your targeting to either stop advertising to them completely or to experiment with different ad copy, imagery or calls to action. And the last one is offline behaviour, and again this is relevant to segmentation. Last but not least, consider this one. Are the segments of your target audience that react better to offline approaches, such as press ads, direct mail or phone calls? If there are, create a segment and target them that way specifically and forget about spending time and money on the other channels just to those segments. If you're spending money to pay-per-click advertising to segments who are only offline, you can see exactly the point. You're just going to be wasting money. You're not going to get the reactions that you need because people just aren't there. Now the second rule of segmentation is that you need to define objectives of targeting each of your segments themselves. So it's not just a case of creating segments and then just firing communications away. You need to have defined objectives. We're always mentioning objectives, you may have noticed. It's true though, you can't be an effective digital marketer unless you define goals and objectives for every single thing that you do. Objectives keep you focused, they keep you motivated and also disciplined with your marketing work. They also allow you to define KPIs and deadlines so that you can measure your successes or failures. Win, lose or draw, you'll have something to measure, which gives you something to optimise and test going forward. You'll always be looking to improve on your previous results. We will be publishing some advice on creating marketing goals and objectives on our blog on Monday. Now you can find our blog at mymarketology.com/labs. As well as highlighting what you want to achieve, your objectives should include who you're going to target, why you're targeting them, and how you're going to target them. This is where segments are key. They're another piece in the jigsaw puzzle that makes up the total of your objectives. So now that you're armed with some data and some objectives, you can start creating your segments, new strategies, targeted content, and approaches specific to those particular segments. You'll know when you've got your segmentation right. You'll see an uptake in those actions that you've been looking for, which are part of those objectives. So we've now reached the end of this week's lab. We've mentioned the 2 rules of segmentation, which are number 1, that you must have data, and number 2, that you need defined objectives. Every piece of marketing work that you do should be targeting at least one segment, not the whole of your contact list or all of your social media followers though. Breaking down your target audience into buyer personas and then drilling those down into specific segments will make you a much more effective marketer. As the relevancy of your work increases, so will your return on investment, and at the end of the day, that is why we're in our roles. I hope that you found this lab helpful in starting to think about segmentation in new ways. It's not just for email, it helps in every marketing discipline that you use. You just need to use your data and look for those segments. Now, we're always open to any questions that you might have. If you do have any questions that you'd like to ask us, please leave a comment below, stalk us on our social media accounts, or email us at hello@mymarketology.com. We're answering your questions in our daily blog posts, which you can find at mymarketology.com/labs, as I mentioned before. So thank you for joining me again this week. I look forward to receiving your questions. Don't forget to subscribe for the channel, and I'll see you again next week.